Men have read it. What were the consequences of sticking your DCK in crazy? She said masturbation was cheating and I disagreed. After some verbal fighting she took her pet mouse I got her and fed it to her dog. Mortified. I took my stuff and never looked back. When we broke up she got into my apartment and poured a gigantic bottle of mustard in the back of my new flat screen. We had a fight. We were then having makeup sex. She was giving me a blowjob and stopped. Turned her head to the left and bit my inner thigh. 38 years later and I still have the scar. I was absolutely terrified. I was about to read that she bit your DCK. I mean, this is still insane and bad. But I'm just thanking the Lord it wasn't your DCK. She broke up with me. Then stalked me and sent me suicide threats for a year afterwards. Didn't technically stick my DCK in crazy, we just fooled around a few times but no sex. Then one night we had a party at my place, she jumped into my bed and I wasn't having it. I told her I didn't want to hook up. So she did the rational thing and latched onto my face like a pit bull, leaving a nice bloody and bruised bite mark on my face. She sounds stable. She slept with someone at her work Christmas party, then came back and tried to tell me she was 5 weeks pregnant with my baby. She proceeded to get wine drunk when I told her that I'd support her decision, but I sure was she wasn't going to propose or get back together if it was mine. She got an abortion but refused to let me know when or where it was. I'm 100% sure wasn't pregnant with my child given the fact that I couldn't perform for a couple weeks due to a giant gash in my leg. I couldn't perform for a couple weeks due to a giant gash in my leg. By any chance, were you bitten during a blowjob? Was stabbed in the back for cheating on her in a dream. Literally stabbed with a ducking fork. The tines were completely buried in my back. I had to have my neighbor pull the fork out so I could get to the hospital. 4 stitches later I got home. She was still asleep in my bed. Edit, I phrased this poorly. I was cheating on her in her dream. Not mine. Literally stabbed with a ducking fork. 4 stitches later. Checks out. I know somebody who had their pubes burned in their sleep. Blowtorch. Edit. I dated a girl who used to always bang gangster dudes tell me to hit her in an argument. Me, a softie wuss, obviously wouldn't do it. She'd tell me to man up and end the ducking argument already and take control of your woman. I never took the bait, and in the 10 years since her I can't say any other woman has made fun of me for not hitting her. I had a car breakdown on me and couldn't pick up my kids. So, her being home all day, I asked her if she was able to pick them up as a favor. I told her it wasn't a problem if she couldn't, but I just really could use the help. She picks them up, no problems. Anyway, I get home and she is napping. My kids are watching TV. But one of them is under 2, so maybe shouldn't be unsupervised. I don't think much of it because she is younger and maybe didn't think before napping. And it's only been an hour or so. I go to fix a drink after cooking up some dinner for everyone. A half liter of rum is empty from the cupboard. In the 2 hours I had left her alone to run errands, she had drank that much and still gone to pick up my kids before passing out in the room. I moved her out that same weekend. After I broke up with her, she called my family members one by one to falsely claim I have ARP'd her. She continued to harass my family by having her friends call and send messages to my sister claiming she is in hospital having committed suicide. This all happened in the days my friends saw her going out with other men. Now trapped in a relationship with someone I work with. If we break up, she'd do something wild enough to get me or us both fired. Secretly seeking a better job elsewhere or transfer. I've learned my lesson. When I was in college, a girl wanted a little vengeance on her ex-boyfriend and set a couch outside of his apartment on fire. The apartment building caught fire and killed 4 people. My buddy got a paternity test request in the mail. Found out he was the father of a 4-year-old girl from some Rondo chick. The baby mama is terrible. She's taken him to court many times to up child support. And his daughter has turned out completely bonkers. He has little contact with his child but still pays $1,300 a month in child support plus medical insurance, etc. The mom has lost all control over the daughter and she just alerted my buddy that she started calling the cops on the daughter because she's violent. Now the child is moving 10 hours away to live with her grandmother several states away. We were having a one-sided argument. I was ignoring her. I found myself spinning circles in my living room, slapping at my back to pull out the screwdriver she put there. She was now yelling at me about getting blood on the carpet. Instead, all the money I should have saved while working without having bills to pay is gone. All the time I could have spent having fun and enjoying my younger years was spent doing what she wanted to do. What made her happy? Then, 3 years after we started, she told me flat out, "Hey, we're moving to Houston. I don't want to move to Houston. Then find somewhere else to sleep tonight, you piece of shit." And the next morning, all my stuff was in the backyard. Houston. Part of my ear bit off and 2 email address with folders labeled restraining order where 6 years of hate mail have accumulated since I stopped responding. I keep the emails as evidence of harassment because she occasionally will go to bother my dad while he's working or my friends' houses to steal their phones and find my new contacts. I want to be prepared in the event of a court case. I live on the other side of the world now. The best whole guess MS followed by the worst life. She was cooking sauerkraut in the kitchen when I went to her house. I didn't know what was going on. So I asked, very obviously joking, BTW damn. Did you find that on the side of the road? Because, in case you didn't know, sauerkraut stinks. Anyway, she reacted by freezing for about 10 solid long ass seconds. She flung the sauerkraut out of the pan and turned to stare at me for the longest moment of my entire life as I watched all the crazy she had flood into her eyes. She then vaulted the goddamn kitchen island thing in the house and came down swinging. The pan barely missed my giant windsock of a nose. And a chase ensued. Wound up locking myself in her room with a phone and calling the cops. She was banging on the door, ducking Shining style, with the pan screaming at me to come out because she just really wanted to suck my DCK. Haven't taken it out yet. So you are wearing her as a cocksock. STD. Amazing SX followed by the systemic destruction of my social life. Attempts to turn my friends against me. They were initially successful. But then they overplayed their hand and friends' co-workers realized what was up. And a deliberate attempt to damage my career. A co-worker is currently having a baby with a woman who, up until a month ago, he had a restraining order against because she ran him over with her car. For cheating on her. Just waiting for the fireworks at this point. To this day I can't be sure she won't complain for our pay after seducing me. She's just so crazy you can never know. I still save our WhatsApp conversations to back me up in court for when the day comes. Intense social media stalking. Even after I blocked her and anyone affiliated with her, she still managed to stalk my social media. Message anybody she thought I was seeing and then message me accusing me of all sorts. She would badmouth me to anybody that listened and probably still does. When I tried to break it off, she told her entire school that I got her pregnant and forced her to pay for her own abortion. We never had sex. Children and now sacrificing everything I have so that her life and my kids' lives have the least upheaval while I go through hell alone. My husband's brother-in-law, let's call him Jim, had a house paid off in full. Over £80k in savings. A pristine unmodified 1993 Nissan Skyline GTR owned from new with a full service history from Nissan directly. A well-paying job as a master carpenter and looking forward to early retirement. Then he met my husband's sister, let's call her Karen, who was a hair's breadth from being bankrupt and homeless after making awful financial decisions that were largely self-inflicted. Jim instantly said goodbye to £20k in savings to clear Karen's debts. Jim and Karen's parents then said goodbye to about £15k each on her wedding. Jim and Karen have one child together and cannot have any more. Karen insisted they buy a 6-bedroom house bought with the proceeds from Jim selling his house. Karen started a child minding business, which is failing. Jim's Skyline was traded in for a rusty second-hand Honda Civic, not even a Type R. They have a mortgage they're struggling to pay and all his savings are gone. Jim deserves much better. His first wife left him on their honeymoon after she confessed she was pregnant by the best man. Got poisoned. At the ripe old age of 34 I got my first. I called the police. They are on their way on me. It was a special moment in my life. I was outside her house Monday morning demanding personal effects be returned as I had had enough of trying to have some sort of relationship with this crazy woman. They never showed. I never heard from her ever again. Or Popo. I should have just masturbated. It cost me family and friends. Put me through a miscarriage. Made it very difficult for me to look at myself in the mirror due to some physical scarring she had left on my body. I lost a lot of money. Went through a lot of mental and emotional trauma. After a while, I didn't want to have sex with her because of her. The miscarriage left me just ill-minded about sexual relations. Her physical abuse of me made things painful to perform. Didn't stop her from taking what she wanted though. Even by force. She eventually left me after taking whatever money I had made for our apartment rent. And slept with her ex from NY to seal the deal we're through. It's hard to sleep some nights. OMG, my love life is made for this thread. But this is the best worst one. I was 23. She was 19. I was her boss. We really didn't have anything in common, but I had just come out of the worst breakup of my life. We had sex a couple times. She was great as expected. Well, I invited her over one weekend and she didn't leave for a month. When I tried to kick her out, she fought my cousin in the middle of the street and pulled a knife on her best friend. Told me multiple times she was going to kill herself because of me. Just all of a sudden developed dissociative disorder after I explained it. The most surprising part? This all happened within a month and a half. Edit. Yes, trust me. I deserve every part of this. I won't deny that. I'm just gonna say that you should never trust someone who says my body is my canvas and my tattoos are my story. Problems waiting to happen. My sister's boyfriend is going through this right now. I know the hell he's going through right now with her drunk coked out calls. She broke into my house. Attempted suicide. Sent dead animals to the girl I dated after her. Called all the time. Stalked my job. Tried to duck my friends. Faked a pregnancy. Faked an abortion. And almost got into a physical fight with my mother. The sex was really good though. Woke up one morning to my girlfriend asking our pets, 2 cockatiels and a rabbit, if they wanted to die with mommy today. Had to get her checked into a psych unit on a 72-hour hold. When she was released, she moved back home and I never saw her again. The slow yet inevitable deterioration of my mental health and overall well-being. I wasn't sleeping well. And I was getting very testy with confrontation of any degree. Turns out that I can't get my decompression time. Each day I slowly become insane and angry. It's not fun. I ended it and felt 1000% better the next day. I told her to pound sand and not contact me again. I did end up having to block her number though, as her texts and voicemails were getting bad. Really bad. My 11-year-old daughter, who is my world. If I could go back in time and pull out, would I? I don't know. It would have saved a lot of heartache and stress. But I also wouldn't have my kid, who I love more than anything. So it's a pickle for sure. Nearly 3 years of regular threesomes followed by years and years of crippling debt. She racked up tons. Using my information. On credit cards. What I learned. Apparently if you are in a relationship with a person, they can commit credit card fraud and the police and credit companies will do nothing about it and they will hold you accountable. I got cum stains on my fursuit. Can you please delete this, oh lord? Well, the crazy I stuck my penis a few times was clinically insane. I mean haloperidol kind of crazy. Injectable. She would hallucinate mid-bang and either start crying, or having panic attacks, or doing crazy shit, or all at the same time. Oh, and she was self-destructive and suicidal too, and wanted to bang her 80-year-old dad. Believe me. Never stick your DCK in crazy. This thread makes me want to hug my wife. There's a lot of crazy out there. Thank God I dodged all those bullets. I ended up with custody of my daughter when she was 4. She grew into an amazing young woman who is now in her first semester of college getting a degree in biochem on her way to being a neurosurgeon. Suicidal depression and a year of alcoholism. Turns out every time she would break up with me for like a day or so every month she was ducking other dudes. It wasn't cheating according to her because we were on a break during those 3 hours last night. If I fell asleep early I would wake up to texts about being broken up with and begged back. When we got engaged I thought it would end. But it turns out she couldn't be satisfied with only one guy, so she officially broke up with me after 7 years of torture. And that's when I discovered she was a cheating WHRE. The woman I'd sacrificed for, put up with, and bent over backwards to please. The girl who tested my commitment by breaking up with me regularly. The girl who I did everything for. But even to her I was worth nothing. It ruined my self-worth. Stay strong, you dumb shit. I mean that with all the kindness in the world, since I know how it feels to be worthless after getting involved with a certain woman. Too bad you didn't get the clues though. I met this girl woman in a club. We got on brilliantly. With so much in common. Anyway, she invited me back to her house and the inevitable occurred. After the deed was done she asked to take my condom off. She tied it up neatly and wrote 7.5 on it. Then proceeded to take a lockbox out from under her bed. And calmly added it to hundreds of other used condoms. I never saw her again. But what? Wait. Was the 7.5 your dig size? Your score out of 10? Looks out of 10? How many minutes it went on? I'm awfully curious as to her units of measurement. Was my roommate crazy? Come home from work at 10 PM. She was about 5 ft 6-110 lbs. She had dragged a dresser about twice her size down our entire driveway. We had a 200-foot long gravel driveway. She was in the middle of trying to shove the dresser in a Volkswagen Bug. She was faced with tears and mascara pouring down her face but was laughing maniacally. Even more so when she saw me. She was claiming that this will show him and make him feel bad. Meanwhile, he was just chilling in his room ignoring her. This was college, so getting drunk and making a scene every Friday was a pretty regular occurrence for her. They were on and off for like 2 years. Then I lost touch with them. As I am being faced with a girl that is showing signs of being emotionally manipulative. I needed to read this thread. Thanks guys. Usually the worst consequence is what they call marriage. Childbirth, dislike that. 3 years with a girl who made my life hell only for her to cheat on me and then steal a bunch of my stuff when she left. I was going to say, I decided I liked crazy and we just celebrated our 10 years wedding anniversary. But these stories have made me realize that my wife's brand of crazy is pretty mellow. As I've never wound up in the ER or had to call the police because of her. Some of y'all methodicas can't identify red flags for shit. And it shows. This is about a man. But he was extremely crazy. Tried breaking up with him. He grabbed my phone and threw it out a window because I was cheating. Then he took a pair of scissors and threatened to stab me. Then stabbed himself. Obviously scissors are blunt AF, so it didn't really work. At that point I was trying to leave. So he pinned me against a wall. I had to punch him. I did. And left. He was pretty skinny, so I was able to fend him off. Next thing I know, everyone thinks I'm the one who stabbed him. This is just one day of his insanity. Also, he was 20 and I was 15. So that was fun. She slits her wrists in front of you because you're angry that she's faked her entire personality. Not me, but my best friend. He started casually seeing this chick and she used to be a stripper. He eventually came around and ended things with her. But he was getting rid of all his close friends for her. And was becoming a recluse. Sometimes you get crazy, JR. Long therapy ahead. I have to find out who I am actually. Ducked me up so bad. I cannot maintain a relationship at all. Panic attacks. Depression and a fear of everything that has to do with living a life. Duck these people. Marriage. Please someone help me escape. Gaming is the cure against social life. Just ask my dad. Why did you put your DCK in him? I'm sorry to hear that. I just want to let you know that what he did to you doesn't make you dirty or shameful. She told the police that I might be a problem. I hadn't stalked her or refused to take no for an answer or anything of the sort. We just had a typical breakup with insults exchanged by both parties. Nothing even almost threatening though. But because of her history of being abused. She is paranoid, clinically and seriously. I wish her well. But duck me. It was emotionally tolling. Oh man. I got my skull nearly broken open by a wine bottle while I was asleep. She was sure I had cheated with a girl that wasn't even in the country. When I tried to get my stuff back, she nearly took out my eye with a scratch. She tried calling my friends to smear me. I happened to be in the car with one of my friends when she tried. He put it on speaker and she was like, he's into bondage PRN and weird stuff. My friend replied, if he has a lot of bondage PRN, the only thing I'd be upset with him for is not sharing. Oh, good times. Had a steak knife hurled at me from her kitchen while I sat on the living room sofa and her 3-year-old daughter playing on the floor not 4 feet from where I was. She was pissed because I wouldn't agree to quit my job and stay at her trailer house and take care of her daughter while she worked as a night stock person at Walmart. We had been dating for 4 days. She said she loved me and wanted to move to another city almost 15 minutes after I left when she fell asleep. Threats of suicide. Ripping my mirror off my car. Poking holes in condoms. They ripped after like 2 pumps as a result. Riding me in my sleep to try to get knocked up, i.e. RP, and threatening to falsely accuse me of RP. Woke up. She was standing above me holding a knife. I looked up and said, "Sweetie, put down the knife and get in bed with me." As she was getting into my bed, I heard one of my roommates leave and he had THCQ call the MPs. When they arrived, they took her to the 13th floor of the hospital and I fortunately never saw her again. Looking back, as an 18-year male, definitely the smartest thing I have ever said. Tried to break up 6 months in. She threatened suicide. Stayed together for 3 years. The last year she was cheating on me with a guy friend. Now she's dating our middle school math teacher.